What's going on, guys? Carter here, and I have a very special guest, Eric Peronnard, the creator of the Endurocross series, and it's a really cool story of why he's here. You might have seen my video, The State of Endurocross, that I produced a couple months ago. I raised some concerns that I had about the Endurocross series, and funny enough, Eric actually came upon that video and wanted to address some of my concerns.
Absolutely. It's first, thank you for inviting me here. You have a great Endurocross track behind us, so it's really a good vibe. You made a 911 call on your video, and actually it touched me, and I felt like we had to get face to face and talk about it. At the time you did it, I wouldn't have had all the answers, but today we're in good shape and we can talk about the future of Endurocross together.
I was very concerned, and like you said, it's a 911 call. I guess the biggest change was the acquisition from Bonnier.
Absolutely. What happened is 10 years ago, my partner and I sold to a publishing company which was owning Dirt Rider. At the time, I think it was called Prime Media. And slowly the corporate world took over and changed hands. And 10 years later, we were in a group that was with wonderful people, but it was not a motorcycle group anymore. It was really a car group, and that started to show in the results. There was not that passion. We were lacking a home, really. So last year, they decided to put it on the market again, and Bonnier bought it. I was interested in buying it back, but I think it's in very good hands with Bonnier, since they have a publishing company, multiple magazine. So we're back with Dirt Rider again, which to us, for Enduro Rider, is the magazine you want to read in America.
You were kind of in bed with Dirt Rider until about, I guess it was like 2013 when all the swaps happened.
Exactly.
And you kind of got stuck at, no, I don't want to say stuck, but you were at 10,
yes.
And everyone else, like Dirt Rider, went to Bonnier.
Correct.
But now it's kind of a homecoming for Endurocross.
Absolutely.
And you're back in the same.
So we're working with the same people we used to work with, and I want to thank all the good people at 10 because they were awesome, but the direction of the company was not for us. It was just like we are a niche off-road sport, and they are a mainstream four-wheel publishing company. So it's just misfit at some point.
Of course, but I'm glad you're back at a company that's more aligned with your interests.
Yes, absolutely.
One of the other things I talked about was the tracks and how some of it was just survival, and I think I'm hearing that you're wanting to go to a little bit more, I don't want to say easy, but like flowing, fun tracks that produce maybe better racing.
Yes, absolutely. We have, it's a really complicated chapter we're entering, because really we have the two best riders in the world in America with Colton and Cody. They were pulled by Taddy. Taddy elevated the sport, just like Jeremy McGrath elevated Supercross. And the younger generation just below those guys are so unbelievably good that we don't know how to slow them down. That said, we're trying to keep Endurocross an amateur sport, and we had issues. Simply, it was too hard, too busy, and we're gonna try to reduce that. I know some people aren't gonna be happy. Endurocross is not supposed to be easy. Endurocross is supposed to be hard. You have to keep that in mind. If you want easier, you have a lot of other sports. But let's not try to make Endurocross easy. We're just gonna make it easier. So we believe that we're gonna put less material, less obstacle, allowing riders to flow better, a chance to recollect yourself between obstacles, instead of like the beautiful track you got behind. That's the older generation Endurocross.
It is, yeah. I originally had my track with a little bit more breathing time, yeah. But once I went to the Nationals, I'm like, man, I can't give myself any breathing time.
Yeah. That's why the race is only 5 minutes long, because you're not breathing, for 5 minutes. Yeah. So it's a little bit too hard.
I think that'll definitely help. The barrier of entry is a little bit high. Just speaking for myself, when I first started, I was like, man, I don't even know if I want to keep doing this.
But it's supposed to be hard,
Of course.
It's a different breed of riders. We have a lot of sports in motorcycle racing that are more friendly. Endurocross is not that sport. So, very often I argue with people. I said, no, we already have arena cross. We don't need to reinvent arena cross. So Endurocross is always going to be something that's going to make you breathes very hard at best. It could be a little bit worse than that, but that's the way it is.
Yeah, it's definitely, I still want that challenge to where when you finish it, you think like you've really accomplished something.
Yes, feels like it was hours and it was only a few minutes.
Something else that I think will help with people wanting to continue racing the whole series is the introduction of an amateur B class.
Yes, we had a lot of talk with a lot of people, including my son, that basically it was not enough space for amateurs. And so we're going to have a B class, which will be the next 12, after the 12 riders that qualifies for the A class, which will be the amateur class. We will have 12 riders that are B class. That B class won't be part of a championship, but it will be more like for the rookies that wants to come and expose themselves to the sport, and hopefully we can have a good time with them. Just once again, it's not going to be easy, but it's going to be friendlier with a different level of riders. I mean, we don't want sandbaggers in there. We want genuine amateurs.
And I'm sure if someone makes the amateur for A main, then they're not going to be eligible for the
no,
B.
absolutely not, because it will be the same class. So you won't have people jumping from A to B or B to A. It will be a race for the riders that are still pretty young in the sport.
So you mentioned that the B class is not a championship. Am I gauging right from that that means that the amateur and vet classes are going to be actual championships?
Yes, absolutely. So we did that in the past, and when the schedule expanded too many miles, we decided not to push people to have to drive 50,000 miles to the championship. And this year, no, not for you in Texas or people on the East Coast, but for the West Coaster, the championship is going to be very, very tight. So you'll be able to get anywhere within a day drive. So by doing that, we really are restarting the championship concept, and the vet class, the women's class and the amateur class will be all national championship. And for people living in Texas or far, you'll have one throw away before the final. So if you cannot make it to one race due to your schedule, you'll be able to get to Ontario at the same level as somebody that hasn't missed a race.
So the pros now are going to be the Super Endurocross class? Is that correct?
Yes. I mean, it's not necessarily the name I wanted to use, but the fact is the Endurocross World Championship is called Super Enduro. I've been trying for years to match the two names, but it's just not working out. So instead of having them changing their name, we're going to change a little bit our name for the public to understand that Super Enduro and Super Endurocross is the same sport. So that's the reasoning behind that. Nothing else is going to change. What we were used to call the pro class or the expert class. So now Colton Hacker and Cody Webb, they are racing for the Super Endurocross class.
What was it even called before? Was it just...
We were confused because
it was expert and pro. And...
There's no pro class in AMA off-road.
Oh, okay.
So that's where we all get confused. Okay. There's an expert class. So you have pro motocross, but you don't have pro off-road. Off-road is still considered as an amateur sport. Right or wrong, most likely wrong. It's still considered an amateur sport. So we don't have a pro class. So we've been touring with different names, but starting in 2017, we will have our own name, which is a Super Endurocross class. That will be the pro, expert, whatever you want to call it. But the best guys will be in a Super Endurocross class for a Super Endurocross championship.
The Super Endurocross class, there's going to be a different format for that as well.
Yes, we will change slightly the format to first, we're going to protect the top 8 riders of the championship. The top 8 riders of the championship will be always in the show, because we feel like once you get to that level, you cannot have a bad day and be missing your LCQ or something like that. So the top 8 that are present at the day of the race will automatically be in the main show. And I mean in the final. Then there will be 7 of the other spots that will have access to it through different ways.
We talked about the changes to the format, but I think what's going to help the most for the average viewer is just breaking down how the day is going to go. What's the schedule going to be like?
Sure. The day is going to start regularly for riders like you at 9 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. You'll go through your practice, you'll go through qualifiers, and the only difference will be that we will qualify about 15 Super Endurocross riders, instead of 20 in the past, because we had 10 that were seeded already. And we will get into the famous hot lap only with the top 8 riders of the championship. So in Vegas, we'll start with the top 8 guys, minus Taddy. Now he's retired, as we all know. So it will be most likely the top 9, because one of the riders won't be there. And it will be that format every week of the championship. Whoever the top 8 guys that are here, if we have injuries or people missing a race, always the top 8 present. We'll have that hot lap to select, gate pick, and meanwhile we'll select, 14 Super Undercross racers. We'll do the cleanup of the track as always between 5 and 7. At 7 o'clock, we will start. The first race we will have will be the Super Endurocross qualifier. About 14 riders, and the top 5 will move in the night show, the night final, which is going to be the last race of the evening. So we have that Super Endurocross qualifier, first race of the night. The top 5 are in a night show. They've done their work. Second race will be most likely the amateur B, just to have a good race with amateurs, to realize the difference of level there is between a pro rider, a Super Endurocross rider, and an amateur. And it's much harder for the amateur than it is for the pro, just to make a point here. And then we'll have our first race for the Super Endurocross class, which will be the gate pick for the main. So there will be just a race. All the riders will be there. The top 8 plus the 5 that qualified. After that, we'll have the vet class. We'll have intermission, and then we'll restart after intermission with something real fun that is going to get the spectators really excited. We'll do a bracket race with the top 12 guys of the qualifier, always Super Endurocross. And we'll end up with the top 2. And the guy that wins will earn 1 point, that will be added to the championship.
Are these bracket races going to be like 1 lap?
1 lap, yes. It will be 4 brackets of 3, then 2 brackets of 2, and 1 bracket of 2. So spectators will see all their best riders 3 times. Plus the qualifier 4 times, plus the final, so it's 5 times. A champion is going to appear 5 times in front of the spectators, which is 2 times more than it was last year. That was kind of the concept around that, just to bring the top guys in front of the spectators more often.
So that's kind of what I've been hearing that Supercross wants to do too, is a similar...
It's what they want to do, but it's very cumbersome for Supercross. Too much regulation. We decided, in a very small room. It's not the corporate world at Endurocross. We say, hey, we're going to do that. This is all the things I wanted to do the last couple of years, and now we're going to do it.
Yeah, Bonnier is going to allow you a little bit more freedom to do what you want, what you've been wanting to do.
Yes, so we'll have the bracket race, and then we'll have a very interesting race. We'll have what we call the B main for the Super Endurocross class. But the B main, we will allow the winner of amateur and vet to be the last gated in the B main. So that's going to be something really different and quite exceptional for racers. You could actually end up doing your first main. If you had won the amateur or the vet class, you could end up winning the B main and then sent to the final.
So you're taking the top 2 from the B main. So not only is the B main its own race, but it's also serving as kind of an LCQ for the main.
Exactly, but I like better to be a B main than an LCQ, because the B main will get trophies. They won't be a part of a championship, just like the amateur B. It's just not, the B class shouldn't be part of the championship, but that will allow you to transport you to eventually a final. And we really hope we can get some real new talent that are going to be very hungry, that won't say, I'm not going to try the pro class, super endurocross class, but I'm going to go to do vet or amateur, just guys. We have a couple super good motocross guys that are tempted, but they don't want to line up right away between Cody and Colton. It's too much. But if they can see the steps, then maybe they'll go to a main. If you go to the main, you're out of any other championship for the year. Any rider that does the main super endurocross final is not allowed in any other classes the rest of the year. So it will be a choice, it will be optional. When you win the amateur class and you go into the B main, when you win that class, you will have the choice to say, I'd rather stay an amateur, instead of going into the pro super endurocross class.
I like that. I mean, the sandbagging issue, you're kind of dodging it on both ends. You've got
trying to
as best as you can.
We have professional sandbaggers in any motorsports, so we'll have to be careful. But basically, that's the idea. And the final race would be 14 laps. We will have, after the intermission, we'll have the bracket race. We'll have the B main, the women's final, and the super endurocross final. 14 laps. We went from 15 to 14 simply because we couldn't announce half race. When you're 15, you don't know. So at 7 laps, people will be informed that they have, done half of the race.
And in those 14 laps, from what I understand, there's going to be one lap where you have to take a joker lane?
Absolutely. We call it a no-joke lane, because it's really no joke. And we're going to create I would say, 20 yards lane that is going to be rather challenging, not stupidly challenging, but something that riders will have to be calm and collected to go over it. We have some interesting ideas. We don't want to do anything dangerous. It's just the fact that it's going to be something that's going to require to change from racing mind to obstacle mind.
I was going to ask you, you kind of touched on it a little bit, you've got some new ideas, but are there some crazy new obstacles we can expect?
No, because in one way, the regular track should be easier to ride, not easier. And the no-joke lane is gonna be kind of like the Judgment Day lane. We want riders to feel tense about entering it, but we want them to get rid of it as quickly as possible. It's going to be a lot of strategy in a race. It's going to be like when you do extreme enduro and you do your lap and you have that waterfall to climb, which is not going to be easy for anybody. I'm sure it will be easy for the top 5, but everybody can make mistakes.
So the no joke lane is strictly a super endurocross class?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. We don't know yet. We may leave it open for everybody to try, but we don't expect people to try something overly challenging when they're racing their race, if they don't have to. And we'll see. Evolution maybe will make it available. Maybe the amateur will have to do it at some point, but it's always difficult to gauge the level of riding ability.
One thing I'm really excited about, we're going back to the Orleans in Vegas.
Yes.
Where it all started for you.
Yes, absolutely. We're pretty excited about that too. We will have a lot of emotion going back there. It was just a mishap to lose the Orleans. It's just, things were not working perfectly well with the Supercross being the same weekend. It was rather expensive to do business in Vegas that weekend, so we're going on our own in August, where I can predict you it's going to be 70 degrees inside the stadium and 120 outside the stadium. So it should be nice. And climate controlled inside the Orleans, and we have some really good obstacles in our storage there. Beautiful logs. Rocks are awesome in Vegas. The dirt is on the dry side, but we'll take care of it.
Okay. And we also have a new venue in Reno.
Yes, Reno is, we really expect to be successful there because there's such a following of the off-road world. A lot of our riders are within 2 hours from Reno. Like Ty Tremaine is the resident champion, and Cody is only 3-4 hours. I mean, we have a lot of top guys there, so we expect to have a very strong following there.
It looks like there's probably going to be a pretty large floor space there too to maybe work with.
It will be large, but we have to condense it because we never done it there. So the footprint will be similar to a regular arena cross size. It's kind of like Denver. Denver is very big, but until you get your materials delivered, you don't really know exactly what you can do. So we're going for standard by 200 by 100. We can maybe make it a little bit bigger, but we're not going to take 100% of the footprint right away because it's kind of a complicated schedule. It's like building an endurocross track is like building a house. You have to plan for a size. You just don't go, I'm going to do the foundation 20% bigger. Then you don't have enough material.
Yeah. Building an endurocross track here was, and we knew it was going to be an undertaking, but it was more than we ever expected it to be.
No, it is complicated. It's one of the downfalls of the sport. It's just like, it's not easy to build your own. It's a lot of fun. It's entertaining to do it, but to do it right, as you well know, it takes materials, a lot of efforts.
Everything about Endurocross is challenge and reward.
Absolutely.
Even building the track.
Yes, absolutely. It's I look at Endurocross, in a motorcycle sport, it's like the Team 6 in the army. It's like you have to be a commando to do that. It's not for regular soldiers. It's a special kind.
Okay, so for 2017, the schedule is very West Coast centric, as you've alluded to. Can we expect any changes going forward from 17, not just in locations, but anything else format-wise or anything like that?
With 17, as the sale was not concluded early enough for us to look outside of the box as far as location, short of Reno, but Reno is kind of like in our box. It's like in the middle of all the other venues we do. So hopefully we have a great 2017, and for 2018 we can think about how we could come back east. And you're in Texas, I live in Florida. Your first Endurocross was in my hometown of Daytona Beach. We were very successful there. Why not? We would love to be back there, and we would like to invite clubs and anybody that wants to do an Endurocross to reach out to us, because we can partner up and do races in different locations. So, a championship shouldn't be more like 12, 15 events. So we're starting at 7 in 2017. Yes, we have room to grow.
I mean, we've got a track. I don't think we can fit enough bleachers here to host people, but...
the track is not going to be very expensive, so we're good there. We already covered that. Yeah. We just need to find $10,000 purse,
Okay.
Because we want to take care of our riders.
So one of the unique things about Endurocross, just from the time that I've been racing it, it seems like it's extremely diverse, not only in nationalities, but in bikes. There's 2 strokes, 4 strokes, any brand you can imagine. Even Alta with the electric bike recently, which I know you're involved with. Can you talk about the Alta a little bit and where you see that going? Do you think that that's going to become a big part of not just Endurocross, but the entire sport of motocross and supercross?
Sure. It's very exciting. We had a test at my track a month ago where we had Cycle News and a lot of magazines, and everybody was blown away how good and efficient the bike is. Still a little bit on a heavy side, more like a 450, of a couple years ago. But the traction you have with an electric motor is phenomenal. And the fact that you don't have to worry about, positioning your feet for shifter or brake if you decide that you could have a handbrake, makes riding really, really efficient. The only downside of electric is the range, and Endurocross we have no issues. You can do an entire season with a gas tank. So it was really successful last year. Kurt Nicole got, within inches of winning the championship. I think we're gonna have more electric bikes coming in. No maintenance, nothing to worry. The bike is perfectly ready to race and potentially win. So exciting to see new things happening in our sport.
One of the things that I've read about that's so interesting to me is just the programmability.
Yes.
You can do literally anything you want with the power.
Yeah, and it's really what we realized when we tested the bike at my place in Florida is there's 4 mapping, from slow to very fast. When you get to the Endurocross track, you actually go faster with less power, and it's difficult to switch bikes. You can't have a 125, a 250, a 350, and a 450 in your truck. But with an electric bike, you can actually have all those bikes in your truck. And that was the most amazing thing, is to realize you go faster with less power. And we all kind of like addicted to that snap, that brap on 2-stroke. But it's really, really interesting. I hope we'll have the ability to let everybody ride it and test it. But it's clearly the future in many ways. Not always, but in many ways.
So Eric, you've been involved in, there's no way I'm going to be able to name all these, but what is next for Eric Peronnard?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's maybe work less. I know my wife and kids would like that. But, just trying to help the sport grow and bringing new things on the table. Somebody told me once I'm an explorer. I like to explore. I like to get new things going, and I've got a couple ideas in my mind, and I'm quite superstitious. I hate to say things early because it only makes the process more challenging when people know what you're gonna do. So as much as I'm very happy to be here, and I very grateful of your attention, I'm just gonna pass on this one. But keep on working, keep on getting the good things better.
Yeah. No, I mean our sport is extremely lucky to have a guy like you who made the U.S. Open happen, to make Endurocross happen, and that's kind of created a career for many off-road guys that I don't think, like a bunch of trials guys that were not going to have anything near what they have now, and it's really incredible.
Like I say, I've been, I was like you, just, in my early 20s, I decided I would be in the motorcycle world. Actually, you're ahead of me. You have a good job. Still trying. I was a jackass, trying to be in the motorcycle world and finding ways. I only knew 2 things in my life: it's to be in America and motorcycle world. So it's been a good journey so far.
I listened to a really old interview with you, and you talked about the U.S. Open and Endurocross, and you actually said that the relief of completing the first Endurocross and Ryan Hughes winning and all that was almost a greater achievement to you than the U.S. Open was.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just the U.S. Open was awesome, but we got into a really dangerous territory, as far as the big promoters and stuff like that, and that was a lot of litigation involved. It took the fun away. When Endurocross was kind of like completely below the radar. The first race I ever organized in my life was an enduro back in France when I was 18, and that was kind of like a good accomplishment, and I felt like it was opening a lot of doors for a lot of guys, and it's, the extreme riders in America have been growing, and actually extreme enduro has been growing, and Endurocross has a lot to do with that. TKO is also one of my co-babies, and it's just like it's unbelievably successful. We sell all the entry in 20 minutes. We building up. We have new things coming up this year. Red Bull is supporting us 100%. It's pretty amazing to be in that situation where you have companies like that to allow you to be successful, because it's difficult now. You're never successful alone. You need to have good partners.
Definitely. And what you're talking about Endurocross being more of your baby, and you were able to do things a little bit more freely, it sounds like you're kind of back to that now with Bonnier.
Yes, hopefully. The difference is it's a series now, so there's a lot of responsibility. One-off are the best, like we did. We just finished, Junior Moto X, you kind of like, you have a lot more energy when you do one race of one type a year, because you have, 12 months to think about it. You do a lot of different things, fine tuning. When it's a series, you have to get yourself in gear. It's the same for the riders. It's like it's not one race, it's 7 races, or Supercross 17 races. You have to, there's less space for creativity when you have a series than you have one off race.
So you just came here from your event in Oklahoma City, or Guthrie, Junior Moto X.
Correct.
Was from what I take it, that event is a huge success.
Yeah, it's been one of those things where we put all our heart in it, and I'm very, very, very grateful to have associated a fantastic group of people. And the reasoning behind that race is to honor the Masterpool family, and especially Jesse, who passed away 6 years ago, or pretty close, 6-7 years ago now. And yesterday Ty Masterpool won the Jesse Cup, and the Jesse Cup is really the super final of the race. So very, very emotional race to have Ty winning the race in memory of his older brother. And no, that was fantastic. We had 2 years in a row, we didn't transport anybody. We had fantastic, safety rating, and big thanks to Jerry Masterpool for that, because he's our godfather. He's watching the track, helping and making sure, nothing stupid is being built. And 2 years in a row, we're walking away with everybody walking away from the track. And this year we're over 500 entries, so it's starting to be big. It's a good race, and I really encourage all the parents to take their kids next year to race in an indoor environment that is the closest thing to a Supercross they're gonna see up to Supercross. But it's really indoor motocross.
I was looking at videos of the track, and Jerry he's always been really good at making technical yet very safe tracks.
Yeah, it's the proof is in the pudding, and 2 years in a row, I can tell you it's exactly what you described.
And it was awesome to see Instagram stories of Ty doing burnouts on his TM85.
Yeah.
With Jake there. It was emotional for me, and I'm not even there, so I can't imagine.
Yeah, no, it was a fantastic evening, and it's good things happen to good people.
Well, Eric, I really appreciate you coming by. I'm really, really excited for the changes coming to the Endurocross series, and not just for 2017 but for beyond, and I'm really looking forward to racing it. Hopefully you see me in the B main.
No. I mean, with the track you have behind you, you're gonna be amateur. You're going for the title.
Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully I make it to enough races to get there, but yeah, it's that's always the goal, is to win.
Exactly. But winning is not everything. It's the only thing.
That's true.
No, it's not. Really, come and have the fun, because Endurocross it's a victory. It's a battle against yourself more than anybody else. It's like you need to win the race against yourself, because you are your own worst enemy. And if you get tense, it's gonna be a terrible experience. So you have to relax and ride the obstacle instead of fighting them.
I always hated team sports as a kid, and I feel like Endurocross is the polar opposite of a team sport. Like you said, it's all about beating yourself.
Exactly. So. It's made for people like that, So, and I'm one of them. I was one of them, not anymore. I get beat up pretty quickly on my Endurocross track. Yeah. The ratio, we have a motocross track and an Endurocross track, and my son Alec can do 5-6 laps easily, sometimes 10, but as an older man, it's like 3 laps on Endurocross track and you pretty much toast. And then you go and cool yourself down on the motocross track.
Yeah, anytime you're cooling yourself down on the motocross track, it was a good workout.
Exactly.
Thanks for coming by, and really appreciate it.
Thank you, Carter.
See you at Vegas.
Yes, absolutely. We look forward to see all of you and all Endurocross fans.